Yeah, it's actually, you know, amazing. And one of the most amazing experiences was I was sitting there in Riga after having had a discussion with, you know, with the devotees there. I was staying in, what's the guy's name, his house, where everybody goes? Satchidananda? Sajjananda, right. And his wife is Kishori, I remember that. And anyway, I'm sitting there after they had these, they bring out these huge platters of fruit and cheese and, you know, just all kinds of stuff. And I'm sitting there, you know, stuffing my face. And this girl walks in to the door, and I look up, and I go, Hare Krishna. She goes, bong, like really brightly, I am a disciple of Madhusudan Maharaj. Right. And she was just glowing and beaming and feeling it. You know, I could tell. It was just really, I was just, huh? How is it possible? It is possible. Right. It's just incredible. I'm so happy and so relieved that, you know, these things are going on. We know it by reading the scriptures and by hearing our gurus. They tell us this, right. But you don't quite understand how it can work, you know. It's just, it's one of these things that's just, it's simultaneously so mysterious, but at the same time so real. It's just, you know, it's just incredible. So that, you know, I mean, whenever I depart, I know there's, you know, so many disciples of Srila Gurudev who are much younger, who are carrying the mission, like Tyagi Maharaj and Ch.ch Adi and so many others. And what to speak of, you know, the disciples of, you know, Srila Janardhan Maharaj, Srila Madhusudan Maharaj, Srila Goswami Maharaj, you know, Srila Acharya Maharaj. It was so nice when I was in Kolkata, and I got to go down and give class every morning. And the devotees, the young devotees, they're from all over the world. Some Indian, some from Eastern Europe, some from America. Where's that one from? Colombia. Colombia? Yeah. Anyway, yeah, they were, oh right, yes. And they were just so interested and so enthusiastic and yet at the same time, just really new, and they're really feeling it, but they don't know anything. I mean, to speak of. They've heard from Acharya Maharaj, but all they've gotten really is the powerful feeling and experience of what it is to, like, you know, bow down to a real Vaishnava. And they have faith. So it's just so easy to talk to them. You can just talk and talk and talk and talk, and they just drink it up, you know. It's quite amazing. Are we ready, Prabhu? Yes. Okay. Jai. So Sri Prabhupada Jivanamritam ki jai. Srila Bhakti Rakak Sridhar Dev Goswami Maharaj ki jai. Okay, so Prabhupada Jivanamritam. Let's see, where are we? There's two markers. Okay. Acceptance of the favorable Bhakti Vachanamritam, that's where we are. Some of the markers have been lost. Bhakti Vachanamritam, okay. Okay, we're still in confidence in the Lord's protection. Let's see. Mercy alone. Okay. We haven't done Draupadi yet, that's for sure. Jagannath, no. Rupa Goswami. Skanda Purana, no. Okay, Jamuna Charja. Uddhavasya. Oh, there we go. Okay. So, I think this is right. We're on, no, conference.
Maybe what's this one, Maharaj?
Oh, it's the one that was separate.
Yes.
Right, okay. Okay, good. Sorry.
No, it's my fault. I think I gave you the wrong one.
Okay. Yes. So, Bhakta Vachan Amritam. Who knows what that means? Not Keshav.
The nectar of the words of the devotees?
Yes. The nectarine words of the devotees. Bhakta Vachan Amrita. Vachana means to speak. And Amrita means nectar. And Bhakta, of course, means devotees. So, we just heard a series of names that Rupa Goswami is calling out to let the fondness to these different personalities who have, transcendental personalities, who all are Krishna, who all have that, the transcendental wonder of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but yet who have, so many different pastimes and activities that the devotees are engaging in with him. So the last one is by a votary that we just read. So, when will I dance on the banks of the Jamuna, chanting your holy name with tears in my eyes? I mean, we can only really enter into this by the grace of Srila Guru Maharaj, because it's really high things that are actually beyond our grasp. But yet Guru Maharaj is reaching down to us to give it to us. And because of that, only because of his mercy, we can actually comprehend it a little bit. Not much, but a little bit. And we can, kind of almost feel it by his grace. So now we're on 26, which Srila Guru Maharaj gives his introductory sloka, serving the holy name in pure devotion, nama bhajana, in the pain of separation, is favorable to achieve union with the Lord. So his Sanskrit, vipralambe milana siddhau nama bhajananukulayam. Okay. Bhajananukulayam. Okay, right, anukulayam, in pure devotion, chanting in pure devotion, the name, nama bhajan, siddhau, achieve, vipralamba milana, separation, the pain in separation. Milana means meeting, to achieve union with the Lord, right, okay. So, Srila Sridhar Maharaj's introduction always gives us a feeling of what the sloka is going to say. He summarizes the experience, of the sloka, and then we get the sloka, which is direct from, great souls or the Shastra, who have direct experience and understanding of this. And he goes all across the scope of Shastra and devotees. In our sampradaya, in a line coming from Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, but also from the line of Ramanujacharya, which is, important to note. That Guru Maharaj is bringing out the similarities in the notion of devotion and surrender and love that are similar between our sampradaya and the Ramanuja sampradaya. I remember once, when I was really young, I went to the Ranganath temple in the island of Sri Rangam, and that's really famous. It's like the original temple of Ramanujacharya from, when was it, 900 or something like that. It's still there, and there's still, Ramanuja Vaishnavas with the big wide tilak, and I was directed to these two of them, who who were, you know, quite old at that time. I was 20-something. And I sat down and they smiled so happily. You know, I was quite amazed, and they began to tell me a little about Ramanujacharya and, you know, about the devotion of Ramanujacharya. Then they began to talk about Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and how much they appreciated the loving devotion that he brought to the world. And I just replied and talked a little about Srila Prabhupada, and they were just, you know, just overflowing with praise for Srila Prabhupada. It was so touching, because they really, like, you know, felt in touch with our experience. You know, it was quite amazing, and really, you know, really a happy thing to discover that, you know, that the experience of Krishna consciousness, while particularly potent in coming from the lotus mouth of Srila Prabhupada, and what's the word? Like amplified by the lotus mouth of Srila Sridhar Maharaj. Really potent. So, but you know, also it's there. First I realized in the line of Ramanujacharya, and then, you know, over time I gradually realized that because we have the real thing, dharma, that's in the heart of every living being, this, you know, experience of Krishna is happening, you know, everywhere, just in different degrees, because everyone is a spirit soul. Everyone, most everyone, not everybody, but every person who's coming in touch with the idea of religion, you know, the Greek religio, bind back, return, you know, coming in touch with that and walking into a church and praying, you know, for help or whatever, they're beginning to touch on something of devotion. And they have that experience. And, you know, I began to discover that this experience, while particularly potent and direct, and I think, what's the word? It's like all together with potency. There's a particular word that I can't remember right now. But that's there. We can see it. But, you know, by their grace, we can see it everywhere. You know, so, and because of that, we can feel like naturally humble and want to respect others, and, you know, give them honor. You know, particularly the devotees who, you know, somehow or other have come in touch with Krishna consciousness, with our Krishna consciousness. I mean, you know, what to speak of them, but, you know, also others who are trying. We honor that, even though it may be an incomplete attempt. Still, you know, something is there, and we have the vision by the grace of our gurus to see, like, where they're at and help them in their faith. We don't have to tell them that they have to surrender to Krishna. We can tell them, you know, about the glories of surrendering to their guru, who may be Jesus or, you know, Muhammad or something. But we can teach them about loving devotion. Anyway, I'm going off the track here. So we have this shloka from Sri Chaitanya Dev. Wow. Okay. O Lord, when will my eyes be adorned with tears of love flowing like waves? When will my words choke with ecstasy? And when will the hairs of my body stand erect by chanting your holy name? So this comes, you know, after the discussion of divine aspiration in separation. And again, Srila Sridhar Maharaj is speaking directly in his introductory shloka about separation. While, you know, this is Mahaprabhu's direct expression of separation. We don't see the word vipralamba there, but he's talking about, you know, the experience of a feeling. You know, when will I feel this? When will I have this? Nayanam Galara Tedanam Rudaya Gira Pulakaya Nichitam Vipu Krada Tavanama Grahane Bhavishyati. At one time I had memorized all these, but they're...
You have to chant them every day.
Yeah.
If you do it as part of the morning program, 8 slokas.
And it gets implanted into the heart. Okay, so Mahaprabhu is pleading, when will my eyes be adorned with tears of love flowing like waves? For us, it seems like it's, that's really high. And in fact, we're told that if we see someone who's like that, and rolling on the floor and stuff like that, we have to pretty much assume they're just faking it. They're sahajas. They may really think that they've got it, but chances are they don't, unless they have exhibited symptoms of like pure surrender to a real Vaishnava. That's like the beginning sign that we have to look for. Someone just walks in and says, I've been like this for 20 years and I'm this and that. Chances are it's all some kind of sahaja imagination. But because we've seen it actually. One of my godbrothers thought he had some kind of, he'd become pure and he was in a stage of bhava or something. And he was like crying and dancing and collapsing on the floor. You probably know who I'm talking about, Kesh. But anyway, it was just, completely not real. And, eventually it was really clear that he was taking LSD and stuff. so it just isn't real, generally. And sometimes I'm reading about the devotees some of the devotees in our former mission who, they're trying to understand, what is an Uttama Adhikari? Am I an Uttama Adhikari? Is he an Uttama Adhikari? I must be an Uttama Adhikari because I've done this for 25 years. And they're thinking, yes, I'm an Uttama Adhikari. And he's an Uttama Adhikari. And, oh, look at that Uttama Adhikari over there. It's just completely bizarre. By the grace of Srila Sridhar Maharaj, we have some conception of, what it is to enter into the stage of developing Krishna consciousness. And we have the idea, of what kind of obstacles we're going to face. And we know that, someone who isn't Uttama Adhikari has to have passed through that stage. You can't just jump from the stage of, chanting rounds every day and doing everything exactly according to the principles and poof, suddenly you're Uttama Adhikari. They're thinking like that. They're claiming Prabhupada said that. But actually, he didn't. There's so many indications about the second clearing stage. And what is that? Did the clearing stage happen when I after 5 years, or was it 10 years? I don't know. But I just continued to chant, and now I must be an Uttama Adhikari. It's, I'm sorry to mock it, but it's very strange. I mean, we're blessed by Srila Sridhar Maharaj and Srila Govinda Maharaj that they've given us the context and the vision to understand just how high that really is. And, to keep that on our head and, worship that idea and understand that those who reach that stage are really 1 in a million. And that, I shouldn't go on, but just because someone joined the mission in 1966 doesn't mean that he's automatically an Uttama Adhikari. It's just very, I'm sorry, I shouldn't be getting into this, but anyway, it just makes me think and wonder and feel how, how fortunate we are. Okay, so anyway, he's just ending this 3rd chapter. Sri Sri Prapana Jivanamrite Sri Bhakta Vachanamritam Argata Anakulyasya Sankalpo Namatrityo Dhyayaha. Thus end of 3rd chapter, acceptance of the favorable words of nectar from the devotees in the life nectar of the surrendered souls, positive and progressive immortality. Shri Shri Prabhupada Jivanamritam Ki Jai. Srila Bhakti Rakhak Sridhar Dev Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Okay. Okay. Ki Jai. Okay. Shungar. Okay, this is Sri Chaitanya-charitamrta. Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai. Srila Bhakti Rakhak Sridhar Dev Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Srila Bhakti Sundar Govinda Dev Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Srila Bhakti Nirmala Acharya Maharaj Ki Jai. Sri Chaitanya-charitamrta Acharya Brinda Ki Jai. Jai Gaur Premanandi Hari Hari Bo. Okay, we've just read about the Chari-bhavera. Who knows? Chari-bhavera. Anybody? Chari-bhavera.
It's a bird.
Getting there.
Divine. Parrot.
Bhava. The feelings, the sentiment, the absorption in service. And chari?
Chari. So it's a chari.
Ekdotin char. 4. The 4 mellows. We heard Dasya, Sakya, Vatsala, Sringara. Here, Kaviraj Goswami is saying Sringara. Sometimes we always say Madhurya, but Sringara is another mood of conjugal love. There, within each division of love for Krishna and service to Krishna, there's multiple varieties of that particular rasa. And within those multiple varieties, there's multiple subdivisions. And it goes on forever. And Rupa Goswami in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu gives us, a glimpse of the depth of what the transcendental world is. That, really everything that we have here, that's good and bad and weird, is there. we read in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, there's all this weird rasas, like hate and horror. Horror and ghastliness. It's there in the transcendental world, in relation to, but always only fully in relation with Krishna. So it's not as though, like the weird thing about the Mayavadi conception and this New Age conception is that if you go back to the spiritual realm, you don't get to have love like we do here. You don't get to have a loving exchange with another person. You don't get to have day-to-day feelings of personal experience. You just kind of merge into it all and you're forever Ch.ch Ananda, bliss. I'm experiencing the bliss and the merging. But I'm also going to go out and play baseball or whatever, So with us, we have a complete understanding of, the nature of the spiritual realm, which, encompasses the material world and enables us to understand that, whatever we experience here is there in perfection. So we don't miss anything. But their problem is, they think that they're going to miss something, so they rationalize, well, because I like this emotion in exchange with my, what do they call it, soulmate, or my spiritual twin, something like that I read. And so they stay. to spread the news of the spiritual realm. You know, but we've got, like, you know, a different kind of news, that there's, you know, that people can wake up and realize that we can go towards a reality that, you know, contains everything imaginable in this world. You know, like I'm often say, from the rush of skiing down a slope to the zone of a basketball player to, you know, the happiness of a loving couple. You know, all these things are there, but in perfection and not limited by temporariness and ultimately death. So that, anyway, so Kaviraj Goswami summarizes the four mellows, and now we come to the next verse, which is verse number 12. Absorbed in such transcendental love, Lord Shri Krishna enjoys in Braja with his devoted servants, friends, parents, and conjugal lovers. So absorbed in such transcendental love, Krishna himself is like loves every devotee, has personal individual love for like who knows how many billions and trillions of living beings, but he has that capacity, and you know he will reach down and give us you know, a beginning taste of that love, which gradually will you know, impel us from the plane of this world to the transcendental world by the grace of our gurus. That the potency of it will just gradually overwhelm us. Sometimes Srila Prabhupada would say, just stay on the boat. Just stay in association with devotees. Just keep hearing, just keep chanting, and it will have effect. And so we've seen the effect of our, you know, the chanting of so many disciples of Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. The effect was they actually heard his instruction to learn from Srila Sridhar Maharaj. And based on that, we've got the chance to really understand what it is to come to terms with the impossible condition that we're in. We can't possibly overcome you know, our conditioning except by getting higher mercy. We have to realize that we're completely hopeless. It's not as though if we follow everything perfectly and do this and that, we're going to automatically, you know, go back to Godhead. If we follow this and that and do everything perfectly, we'll automatically come to the stage of realizing we're hopeless and have to bow down to our guru and, you know, begin the difficult journey as we're just beginning to break through into the clearing stage, the Madhyama Adhikari stage. And we're beginning to see, like before us, the mountain of illusion that we have to deal with by the grace of our gurus. And we, you know, so we have to, seeing that and realizing that we're not equipped to, you know, blast our way through that mountain. We have to get, you know, some help. And in that mood, we realize that we have to, like, really give everything to our guru. We can't, like, hang on to wanting the bliss, the nectar, this and that. Nothing. We can't, you know, we have to try and give everything. And it's no easy thing, no doubt. So, okay, so let's read the Bengali. Dasa Saka Pita Mata Kanta Ganalana Braje Krida Kodi Krishna Prema Vishta Hana. It's like every sloka is perfect, beautiful poetry. And within that poetry is contained, you know, the perfect wording of the necessary understanding that we need to, like, progress to the next sloka. Kaviraj Goswami is, like, beyond genius. It's, you know, it's really inconceivable how he's put this Chaitanya-charitamrta together by the grace of his guru, Nityananda Prabhu. Okay, so we'll take a look at Srila Prabhupada's purport. Imperfect life is realized in material existence in 5 different relationships we share with everyone within the material world. So the same thing is going on here. We can't avoid it. It's the nature of the soul. But because we're conditioned, it's like, reflected through the ego. And, we're conditioned to enter into these different kinds of relationships naturally. And by the grace of our gurus, we get to sometimes have those kinds of relationships, for example, in Grihastha life, and gradually, become free from them. We balance ourselves on the material plane as best we can so that we can continue in our devotional life. So, 2 things together are combined. The relative, how I can survive and go on, keep body and soul together according to my particular, position in the modes of nature. And 2, the most important thing, how I can progress in Krishna consciousness. Both things have to be there, but the main emphasis must always be on progressing in transcendental life. And, by putting that emphasis, or at least trying to put that emphasis in that direction, we naturally, make progress. It's like when the choice comes in our life, what to do, the real way in which you can make that choice is to decide, what's going to enable me to, develop more in Krishna consciousness, to stabilize my existence so that I can progress in Krishna consciousness, to more and more come in contact with the nature of surrender in real Krishna consciousness. So Prabhupada outlines those 5 different relations, again, that happen unavoidably in this world. Neutrality, servitorship, friendship, filial love, and amorous love between husband and wife, or lover and beloved. These 5 enjoyable relationships within the material world are perverted reflections of relationships with the absolute personality of Godhead in the transcendental nature. Okay, so these things are going on, and in a similar way, like we were talking before, simultaneously the divisions of society, the Varna ashram, because they're eternally imbued in this energy of the material world, they're there regardless of whatever economic or political system you try to impose onto it. Like we said, they've still got the intellectuals, they've still got the leaders and the warriors, they've still got the businessmen and the farmers, and they've still got the workers. It's not that everybody suddenly becomes a worker. They tried that in the Soviet Union, and they tried for 80 years, and in the end there were still guys working in the street and driving by big government people in a big car going to their fancy apartment, and the guy working in the street goes to his little, cubicle in a big giant communal building. It just doesn't work. But the real thing that works, like we said before, is the understanding of this, the spiritual nature of everyone, and the organization of society in such a way so that everyone realizes that they're souls, and everyone realizes that in order to progress, they need simply to do their duty and remember Krishna, remember the Lord. Like Krishna tells Arjuna in the Bhagavad Gita, fight. Don't just give up based on sentimental things. Do what your nature tells you. Do what do what you're supposed to do in terms of that varnashram. And of course, we know from Chaitanya-charitamrta later, and the discussion between Ramananda Rai and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, that even that conception of varnashram is a lower conception, and we can ultimately enter into higher notions of reality, which are manifest in these different relationships that we can develop with that supreme object of all our heartfelt love and affection. So we have to gradually allow that to come out and point it in the right direction. Okay. He manifests his transcendental pastimes in Braja so that people may be attracted into that sphere of activities and leave aside their imitation relationships with the mundane. Then, after fully exhibiting all such activities, the Lord disappears. So Krishna comes down to show the reality of transcendental existence. Otherwise, it's, Kaviraj himself says also, he told us before, without that descent, we wouldn't have any idea of what the real world is, or that there's even a real world there. The idea of Brahman and Brahmajyoti that comes from only from the negative conception that's there in the intellect, that's not going to satisfy most people. Most people want to be loved, and have an exchange of loving affairs. It's just natural. Most people want to have really good friends that they, mess around and do stuff with. Like in Salt Lake City, we all get together and go to the gun range. Something like that, yeah. Friendship and filial love. That means the love of a parent to a child, and the love of a child to a parent. We've all experienced that in different ways. Certainly when we were young, we can remember that feeling of love and dependence that may or may not have continued through adulthood as we ourselves became parents and we're giving filial love in kind of the reverse direction. And as we give it, we kind of realize what our parents were trying to do. And myself, I have some regret for having not been able to understand what was going on and properly reciprocate with them. But then again, I have to understand that filial relationship that they were trying to develop had no knowledge or experience of what reality is. So, like, my father never talked to me about anything, not about, mundane relationships or any, because he couldn't figure it out. He himself was totally bewildered and hadn't found anything except his, his cup of whiskey and his beer, which, he came home from work, drank a shot of whiskey, maybe 2 shots, ate dinner, went down to his workshop, tied flies for fishing, and drank beer. That was his life. And I swore I'm not going to be like him. I didn't know where I was going, but by some higher grace, or maybe the direction of a previous birth, but mostly I'm sure just the grace of Srila Prabhupada, who appeared and enabled me to just run into the devotees, who just pulled me in. I did try to run away, but it didn't work. So, yeah. So anyway, these kinds of relationships, we all know them. And just imagine if there was a perfect relationship. Whatever feeling we have had in these different relationships, now and then we get we do get a good feeling. We do feel like, wow, this is really nice. It was really cool being together with friends. This is amazing being a parent. And it is. But the only reason it is because this is backed up, or behind it is the substance of the nature of a real type relationship. And the signal is, you know, that everything's temporary. You know, everything just ends. You know, like myself, I rebel and leave home. And, you know, I guess my father's left like bewildered and sad. And, you know, but in his case, you know, angry. Why has he done this to me? Why didn't he become a doctor? You know, because I wanted him to be a doctor and make money and be successful and be honored in society. He should have done that for me. You know, and you know, what can you do when you're in a situation like that and you really want to find some truth? You have to just, you know, kind of make a decision and, you know, break away from those mundane relationships and try to find something that's real. And Srila Govinda Maharaj used to say that in the West it's very favorable because the family relations are not so strong. You know, they're not as developed as India. If you've ever experienced the family relationships in India, like Keshavananda probably has, it's really, you're like, you know, tied up with ropes. It's stuck there. And it's very difficult to break away because of social constraints, emotional constraints, you know, and you know, the constraints of a love that you have for your parents that you don't want to allow them to feel like that you've betrayed them. You know, it's very much imprinted into the Indian society that it's like that. So we don't get that many devotees who are able to break away. Now and then devotees will appear who've been raised in Vaishnava families whose parents are encouraging. But, you know, even Srila Govinda Maharaj, raised in a high Brahmin family, you know, chanting prayers of great Vaishnava devotees. You know, they didn't want him to leave. They wanted him to fulfill the family obligation of, you know, becoming married and becoming his father's successor in being a, you know, a professional singer of Vaishnava songs. But Srila Govinda Maharaj, with great difficulty, broke away from that and took the shelter. This was because of the power of the shelter of Srila Sridhar Maharaj. So I'll quickly do one more verse. This is text 13, translation. Lord Krishna enjoys his transcendental pastimes as long as he wishes, and then he disappears. After disappearing, however, he thinks thus. So, yeah, this is like telling us a little about Krishna's nature. He, like, you know, he engages in some pastime, and then he thinks, oh, I'd rather do something else. And just takes off, and you're left there, huh? What happened? I guess that's what it's like. You know, we kind of feel it sometimes, like we're dancing in bliss in the kirtan, and everything is wonderful, and then we get out of the kirtan and sit down and try and get into our service, and suddenly it's like, why am I gutted? What happened? I was so, you know, feeling so good. And somehow or other, Krishna is like, he's not there. And it really, you know, happens to us. We have our ups and downs. And we have to remember that not only is this the material world, you know, where sometimes you're happy, sometimes you're sad, up and down, constantly. But it's also the nature of reality. That's why it happens in the material world. Krishna does that. And why? To enhance our devotion and dedication, somehow or other, even in purity. It grows and grows and grows. And what is that growth based on? It's based on separation. You know, if you get separated from someone, you feel, oh, I miss that person so much. You know, so what to speak of you know, imperfection with Krishna? And he does that because, you know, that's his transcendental nature. He's, you know, he's free and wild, and, you know, he can do anything he wants. And we're just like unable to say anything about it. That's how things go on. So, yateshta vihare Krishna kore antardana. Antardana kori mane Krishna anumana. Another like beautiful poetry. And what's contained there? Yata ishta, as much as he wishes, vihari, he's enjoying Lord Krishna, kore, makes antardana. He kore antardana. He makes disappearance. Antardana kore, in his disappearing, mane, in the mind, he makes anumana, consideration. He thinks. So he disappears from the relationship, and in that disappearing, he begins to think in his mind, and tomorrow we find out what it is. But I got to read it because we'll read it and then do everything tomorrow. For a long time, I have not bestowed unalloyed loving service to me upon the inhabitants of the world, this material world. Without such loving attachment, the existence of the material world is useless. So we'll talk about that, discuss it, read the beautiful Bangla that Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami has written, and try to enter into what Kaviraj Goswami is giving us, whatever degree to which we can put our consciousness, open our hearts, and receive on a different level than just words and intellectual comprehension, but on a level of receiving. When our gurus have something to give, and that giving comes through the scriptures that they've given to us. And imagine the power given by Srila Prabhupada, and not only that, authorized and urged for us to read by Srila Sridhar Maharaj and Srila Govinda Maharaj. So what kind of potency are we able to, get into? And authorized by Srila Janardhan Maharaj too. So, and all of our acharyas. So, what to speak of, in the beginning, reading by the blessing of Srila Prabhupada. That's wonderful and potent and amazing. When I first read through, I read through the whole Chaitanya-charitamrta from beginning to end. As it came out gradually. First there would be the beginning of Adi-lila, the first book, and everyone would just devour it. And then the next book, everyone would devour it, and on it went. But now we get the chance to read it in the context of the reinforcement and the blessing, not only of Srila Prabhupada, but also of our great Sri Chaitanya Saraswati Mat Acharyas. And that's actually what's happening. We can't really see it, we don't really know it, but it's really happening. And if we just, try to just open ourselves to it, we don't have to understand it, we don't have to, think about it in any way. We just have to try to receive the reality that's coming through the sound. And that is directly the mercy of our gurus. So, I forgot to say, Jai Jai Shri Chaitanya, Jai Nityananda, Jaya Dvaita Chandra, Jaya Gaur Bhakta Vrinda.
Shri Chaitanya, Jaya Nityananda, Jaya Dvaita Chandra, Jaya Gaur Bhakta Vrinda.
Sri Chaitanya-charitamrta ki Jai. So, tomorrow text 14. Jai Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Prabhupada ki Jai. Srila Bhakti Rakak Sridhar Dev Goswami Maharaj ki Jai. Srila Bhakti Sundar Govinda Dev Goswami Maharaj ki Jai. Srila Bhakti Nirmal Acharya Maharaj ki Jai. Srila Bhakti Pavan Janardhan Maharaj ki Jai. Shri Chaitanya-charitamrta Acharya Brinda ki Jai. Jai Gaur Premanandi Hari Hari Bol. Jai Guru Dev, Jai Guru Dev, Jai Guru Dev. Hariharaya Namah Krishna Yadavaya Namah Yadavaya Madhavaya Keshavaya Namah Go